primetime Poulton, keep it entertaining. You already knowin', outworking everybody and he don't ever quit. Talking about plenty comics like Graveyard Shift, Sea Dogs, Fighting Wolf, U.S. Assassin, doing just what he loves. This is his passion. Bring more value to your dollar. No, I'm not frontin'. That's how just a writer became a moral compass. This is primetime Poulton. This is primetime Poulton. Let's go. It's all about the boom. TMC, baby. It's all about the boom. Cowboy Phil, baby. It's Cowboy Phil. Hit him with the body slam, elbow drop. TMC, Cowboy Phil, laid pot guys. What you see in the ring are two monsters. Energy of a king and of a rock star. Yeah, drop kick, probably make your heart stop. You ain't ready, super scary, and they staying on top. Hit a ding ding, better watch yourself. It's TMC and Cowboy Phil. Lay pot guys, yeah, they the real deal. It's TMC and Cowboy Phil. 2 times a week, you can't compete. They body slam you down, now you taste the beat. The champions, they legendary, nobody like them. Coming for the belt, yeah, they coming for the title. Hey, it's all about the boom. TMC, baby. TMC, baby. Yeah. It's all about the boom. Cowboy Phil, baby. Let's Cowboy go. Phil, baby. Hey, 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 yeah, let's go.
What's up, guys? Happy Sunday. Happy Graveyard Shift 4 launch. Phil, did you even know Graveyard Shift 4 launched today?
I did. I retweeted it today.
Thank you so much. The book is doing fantastic. We've been live a little over 4 hours, and we're already past $51,000. Ethan Van Sciver was kind enough to launch us today at noon. We did a little drinking. Luckily, I had.
You're looking a little flushed, a little red around the cheeks and nose.
I'm not a big drinker, Phil. I don't know if you know this. So yeah, a little bit of drinking does me in. But luckily, I had an excuse because my wife's sick and she had to send me out to get some stuff. So I escaped. Still intact. But yes, since Christmas Eve, my wife and we came down with COVID. For me, it was just like the flu. After a few days, I was fine. She's still dealing with it. Finally starting to get on the mend and feel better. So it's been a lot to take care of her. Chase has been awesome, but I'm looking forward to talking some wrestling. There is a lot to talk about. But you know what we should do? Let's go through this Graveyard Shift campaign real quick.
Let's rock it.
All right, let's start off with the video.
Graveyard Shift, Volume 4 goes into overdrive where Volume 3 ended. A signal from Earth delivered beyond the known universe draws the envious eye of an ancient alien empire. The old gods are returning and Graveyard Shift can't save the world alone. They'll need an army to fight the forces of the Black Emperor, making for uneasy alliances. Watch as Vlad, Lilith, Mick, Search, Brahm, Nightwalker, and more gather a massive team of superhumans and soldiers to commit first strike against this new alien threat. Join us for Graveyard Shift Volume 4, The Black Emperor, Part 1 of a massive 3-part storyline about heroes and sacrifice, only on Indiegogo.
You hyped, Phil?
I'm hyped. Alien invasions, let's go for it.
Yeah, so like the greatest thing about being a comic creator is like creating new characters. And in this volume, we've probably created like 40 to 50 new superheroes for our universe. So tons of world building. It's so much fun to make this. And, you know, the book is almost done and we just launched. I'm scripting the pages now so we can get this book lettered and off to the printer. But besides the main book, which is written by me and drawn by Jose Garcia, there's a supplemental book, Graveyard Shift 3, and that is right now it's at 48 pages. With stretch goals, Phil, there's a chance this supplemental book could be 108 pages.
Ooh-wee.
It all depends on how much backers support it, and the way things are going right now. I have a feeling we're going to get that 108 pages.
I
But
kind of think so. That cover by Tommy is absolutely sick.
absolutely. And the supplemental book, 48 pages, written by Phil Diaz, art by Tommy Patterson and Jimmy Reyes. And then there's a reprint to volume 3 with the all new cover by John Malin, colored by Kyle Ritter. Looks fantastic. And, there's still opportunities to get the collected edition of 1 and 2, all the old supplemental books. So there's a way for you to get everything if you somehow have missed Graveyard Shift over the last 3-4 years. But man, what a start. 51,000. We'll catch up on it later in the day, later in the show, and see if the needle's moved any. But man, a huge launch. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it's looking awesome. Graveyard Shift, probably one of the best bangs for your buck you can get in all of CG.
We got Nicholas Gear in the chat. What's up, Nicholas? Thanks for joining us. The Canuck says, just in time. Ethan just finished his stream. Now it's your turn. Woot woot. Yeah, I was on that stream for about 2 hours. Had to run some errands for my sick wife. Thankfully, because at the pace they were drinking, I would have been done for. I wouldn't have made it to La Pod Gods, Phil. Emerald Avenger says, hail La Pod Gods. Congrats on Graveyard Shift 4. We got Adam Kember in the chat. What's up? Hicks Villain. How to Draw Comics by Dan Lawless. What's up, Dan? Dan is a Phil. He's a longtime comic veteran. Worked for Marvel doing Shadow Masters for Punisher. Did some Avenger Spotlight, Barbed Wire artist. So it's awesome to see him here. Nicholas says, would have been cool if you all could have had the other CG creator characters team up with Graveyard Shift. Yeah, I mean, it gets tricky the more creators and IPs you bring into a crossover. So for now, we created our own universe of of heroes.
And you get the Poulton verse crossovers. U.S. Assassin Volume 3.
Absolutely.
Crossover with Graveyard Shift.
I'm fulfilling that right now. We're about 50% fulfilled. I want to have that done by the end of the month because Phil, you and I were going to be in Rahway in February vending. Flip Gordon has a big match against Killer Cross, his first match back since being released by WWE. I'm looking forward to that. That card is stacked. We got Matt Cardona versus Dan Moff. The American Wolves are reuniting at this event. That's going to be huge. My good friend Eddie Edwards. So I can't wait.
No, it's going to be awesome. The card is stacked. The roster is stacked. You can't get any better than that show. I'm totally excited to be back at Rahway. Probably our favorite spot to see live events, I would say.
Absolutely. Hicks Villain says, the Jose Garcia art looks great. Feels a bit like Joe Mad days on X-Men. Yeah, that's a good call. Bullet Ninja Hagelman's in the chat. He says, congrats. Thank you. We got a bot in the chat. Hicks Villain wants him out of here. Mr. Von Stugel. Hey, Mark, took $60 out of my wallet. Thank you so much, man. Adam Kember says, wrestling and comics. Life is sweet. It's the best, man. My two favorite things.
Into one.
Absolutely. So before we get into all this news, Phil, we have an event to promote. This Tuesday, the King of That Thing tournament kicks off on Breaking Rad, and the Lapod Gods are going to have 4 of the qualifying matches, and it starts for us Wednesday. I think we're going to go live 8 p.m., a little later time than normal. Hopefully get more people in here. But our first match is Joe Sontag versus Sean Aaron. And stuff, guys.
Can we talk about the Vince McMahon behind it all, pairing tag teams against each other in this first round?
6 a.m. Comics is a little drunk with power, Phil, because the following week on the Pod Gods qualifying match, the Moral Compass versus Cowboy Phil.
You got to promise me not to watch the result first.
It will be, yeah. I want a real reaction.
Yeah.
Hicksville says Mega Powers explode. I already tweeted out the Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. I'm sorry, I love you.
It's all right. I'm taking the opposite approach, Hicks. I tweeted out the Kevin Nash Hulk Hogan finger poke of doom spot. One of us has to stay healthy for this match.
Which one of us is Kevin Nash?
That'll be determined when we watch the match.
All right, so let's go over this tournament. The qualifying matches. 6 a.m. has done a great job getting so many new wrestlers involved in this. So here we go. This is what is this visible, Phil?
Yep, it's good.
All right, so it's going to kick off Tuesday on Breaking Rad, and they have Wyatt Holiday versus Optimus. That's a creator I'm not that familiar with, but I dig his outfit. And then the following night on La Pod Gods, we got our boy Sean Arrant versus Joe Sontag, the art and stuff guys. We try to be, call it down the line, but not when our best friend Sean Arrant is wrestling. I'm all team Sean Arrant.
Yeah, we are team type 1 here at La Pod Gods. We will be heavily rooting for Mr. Art and stuff, Sean Arrant.
And I believe both of them, Sean and Joe, are working on some promos for our show. So I can't wait to hear them talk some smack.
We're like, I don't want to say it, but we are starting to slowly become the SmackDown of the 2000s when we started to we have Edge, we have Rey Mysterio.
The SmackDown 6, yeah.
We're the SmackDown 6, right? I feel like this is our era of SmackDown. We're getting the exclusive matches.
The Primetime 6. Moral Compass, Phil McNulty, Sean Arrant, Joe Sontag, and we're going to say Mike McMahon and Don Chin. That makes the that makes the Primetime 6.
I love it. Man, we need jerseys and stuff. Primetime 6. Oh,
absolutely. All right. Match number 3, the qualifiers. This is on the Breaking Rad channel. Dale Keown versus Gabe Altieb. This is super heavyweights, man. Two powerhouses in the industry.
Damn straight.
But this is the match of the qualifiers right now. Match number 4, Cowboy Phil McNulty versus the Moral Compass, myself. A match no one saw coming. It's reminiscent of Shawn Michaels, Big Daddy Cool, good friends, better enemies.
This is just, listen, they're already trying to break up the Pod Gods, even before getting our title shot. But don't worry. After Absolutely. King of That Thing passes, we'll be back on our hunt for the tag team belts.
Then match 5, Xavius versus Cal Jamison. Xavius isn't a creator I'm that familiar with. He looks kind of intimidating. Looks like he's got a towel wrapped around his neck, kind of going with that Taz look, the Samoa Joe look, who we'll be talking about later.
I was going to say the QT Marshall route.
There you go. Did you see QT get dumped on his head by Hook this week? Wow.
Hook is probably the best. He's going to be the star of Dynamite. Keep him on. I mean, not Dynamite, of Rampage. Just keep him on Rampage every week if you want your Hook fix.
Absolutely. And then match number 6, back on Primetime Poulton, the Pod Gods. Eric Hodson, artist of Killed an Avenger, the Rowdy Roddy Piper comic, versus comic book legend Mike Barron. That's going to be a killer matchup. Match 7 over on Breaking Rad, we got Ink Spots versus Doodle Bags. And then finally, rounding out the qualifier matches, match number 8 on La Pod Gods, we got Mike McMahon versus Don Chin. It's going to be a hell of a match.
Putting up some of the, you know what? The card is stacked. We're glad to be part of it. Even though we're against each other, we know we're going to pop a rating on every single one of those matches. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Andy Adam Kember says, like all great indie bookings, flip a coin. Nico Trona says, just need that giant fist to jump off of. Yeah, that's how you're going to appear, Phil. You're going to like pop up like
Just booyah.
booyaka. Nicholas Gear says, confirm primetime 6 jerseys for the next campaign. Absolutely. All right. So King of That Thing starts this Tuesday, but now it's time to talk about the real wrestling news. And let's start with NXT New Year's Evil, new NXT champion, Braun Breaker.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm so glad I gave NXT awards for our Lopatis in 2021. 2.0 is already off to a hot start for 2022. Man, him breaking that old NXT gold thing was fun. The match was fantastic. If you want to do something here, Braun Breaker wins the Royal Rumble and wins at WrestleMania. Just push him to the moon. I know they're probably going to have Brock or Roman, one of them, win their match and enter the Rumble and fight the other. But, man, it'd be something if you just gave us something good for Braun Breaker to come in and just take it by storm.
How about those pictures after the show went off the air? Rick Steiner, first Tommaso Ciampa, class act, goes over, shakes Rick Steiner's hand, and then Rick Steiner hops in the ring with his son. His son wearing his dad's old boots too for the match. So you can hide the fact that he's a Steiner all you want. We all know he's Rick Steiner's kid.
We know it's. I bet you it changes when he gets to the main roster eventually.
Hicks Villain says Braun ended NXT 1.0, including all the old employees. Yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, Braun Breaker, I'm all for pushing him to the moon. Phil, if you were starting a wrestling company and I gave you two choices, you could have Braun Breaker or you could have Jungle Boy, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and MJF. I'll give you those 4 guys or just Braun Breaker. Who would you take?
Braun Breaker.
Yeah, I agree. That he's what, if you were creating a wrestler, that's who you would create.
And it's nothing against the 4 pillars of AEW. It's just that we've seen Sammy as the TNT champion. Good, just not there yet. MJF is ready, but he's slowly, as we've seen the last couple of weeks, Wardlow has slowly started to overshadow him.
Absolutely.
We've always said the money's in Wardlow. Lucha Boy, I think the sky's the limit for him, but he does not have the mic skills or the charisma that Braun has. So those 4 guys probably add up to one Braun Breaker.
Let's talk about Jungle Boy.
How about that for Steiner math?
He just won the NXT tag titles with Luchasaurus. Ray Phoenix, is the luckiest person alive since he didn't break his arm because it looked horrible.
It was very badly dislocated. We don't know if there's any ligaments torn in there, but that was probably one of the worst injuries I've seen live. That was scary stuff.
It looked rough. You were saying Jungle Boy doesn't have the mic skills. That's why I think Christian has been paired up with them and has taken the place of Marco Stunt, who has been MIA for 2 months?
Thank God. Thank God. This is one of the few times I'll say this. Thank God for Christian. My goodness.
I feel bad for Marco Stunt. I mean, he was just basically pushed off TV.
His career in AEW was stunted.
Let's keep it on AEW for a moment. Battle of the Belts last night. Cody Rhodes can't compete because he has COVID. We get an interim TNT champion. What are your thoughts on this?
Can we talk? First of all, I love the idea. Was the execution there? Not really, because Dustin Rhodes, let's say this. Dustin Rhodes is fantastic. I cannot believe he is doing what he's doing in his career. But he's at a point in his career where we know he's not going to win, and AEW treats him as such. I understand you want the Rhodes. You want the Rhodes family. Who else would step in for him? But I think this also has a lot more to do with Sammy than it does Dustin. It's one of those things where I don't know if I believe Sammy as a single star yet. I think this is another case for it.
I'm going to tell you, I'm kind of sick of Sammy Guevara,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not doing himself any favors. Proposing to his girlfriend at a live TV and then dumping her 2 months later for Tay Conti, and then Tay Conti, leaving social media when she starts hearing it from the fans, which, it's really none of the fans' business. But then
Right.
them coming back to try to troll the fans.
I'm over. You know what? Sammy is a heel. I think he's more of a heel in life than he is a face.
Yeah.
If he was a heel, he's a totally different character as a heel. He cannot play a face. And I think
Well,
that's
the whole
what,
inner circle, they're better heels.
right. But at least Jericho and Pride and Powerful, they can actually be really good faces. We've seen it with LAX. We've seen it with Jericho his entire career. They could do both. Hager has to be a heel. He can't be a face. And Sammy, he has to be heel. He can't play a face. So I think that's another reason why we saw Braun Breaker. We're like, oh my God, is this a heel turn? Because he could be that guy, and then he could become a face the next week and get cheered over Ciampa. And that's why, again, you would take Breaker over those four.
Yeah. Hicks Villain says, waiting for Marco to come back for revenge. I have a feeling his contract's going to run out and we're not going to see Marco stunt again, except on the indies around here.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Nicholas says, Dustin has become a jobber. And Hicks Villain says, Dustin looked tired, but also did a Canadian destroyer into a table. So who knows? He's probably in the best shape of his career. Compare him to 90s Goldust, who was, fat, out of shape.
Right. 7.
7. Oh my God. So, that's the NXT. Now we're going to cover the WWE releases. These took me by surprise because they were all sort of like NXT, like Triple H's, basically his made men.
I haven't seen any reports yet, which I'm still interested in seeing what Triple H thinks of this. But he tweeted out about 8 months ago, 8 to 10 months ago. He was like, William Regal will always have a job and for NXT until he says it's over. He was released. Road Dogg was released. Samoa Joe was released. So they really are officially ending the NXT 1.0 as it was referenced earlier in the chat.
Do you feel sorry for Triple H?
Yes, I do. I think once, and I think people say, oh, it's not a coincidence. I think once he had his medical problem and he was it doesn't take a genius to connect the dots that as soon as he was literally indisposed and in the hospital, sweeping changes to his brand went through.
So on one hand, I feel terrible for Triple H because I loved old school NXT, but he was given the job of creating Stars of Tomorrow for WWE. He wasn't very successful, Phil.
I mean, now was it the stars or was it how they were booked on the main roster that made it that way?
I think he didn't create what Vince McMahon wanted.
And I think
we're seeing that right now he wanted Braun Breakers and he was getting Johnny Garganos and Finn Balor's and Kenta's
and Adam Cole.
Yeah.
And Kyle, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly.
He was getting guys that could tear it up, but
right.
They're not a Braun Breaker who's he's like once in a lifetime type wrestler who comes along.
I honestly think he may have been the catalyst for this whole thing. I think Vince probably saw him, and probably cut some early promos, kind of saw him in the ring, saw how he looked, and he was just like, all right, we've already lost against AEW. might as well try to go what I would want to do.
Yeah. We got Phil Diaz in the chat. What's up, Phil? He says, "Hail, boys. Congrats on the launch. Congrats to you as well, Phil. Your supplemental book is going to be seen by a lot of people. So I'm very excited for you." Let's see. We got Comic Book Bob. Considering Dustin is 50, he did pretty good. Absolutely. Matt Hepp says Zack Ryder was successful despite bad booking. Yeah, you can overcome bad booking.
Yep.
Actually, being released by WWE nowadays is probably the best thing that can happen to you. Go reinvent yourself. Hicks Villain says, no doubt, Dustin his act is tired. Seemed to project that he might be thinking retirement from the ring. Adam Kember says, it seems like Triple H was groomed to be the CEO of WWE, but now it seems everything he creates gets released before they can get established. Comic Book Bob says AEW should snatch up Regal, Road Dogg, and Ryan Katz.
The first thing I sent to Mark as soon as he sent me that William Regal was released, I said he is the perfect figurehead that AEW desperately needs on their product. Like, even if it's, managers of the show have been there for years. Even the Attitude Era, it was evil Vince McMahon, and then it turned into face Mick Foley, and then it turned into Stephanie McMahon, and it just seems that the show flows better, and it really brings you into that, oh yes, this is a wrestling company, this is a federation, sort of keeps that sort of TV show bubble to it, where we sort of can just, suspend our disbelief. So he would be the perfect guy really to give a little bit more of an authority, and I think boost up, the confidence that AEW needs to be projected as a primetime show.
Yeah, the thing I'm excited for that I want to see Samoa Joe versus Bryan Danielson. I awarded Roman Reigns as Wrestler of the Year. Honestly, I think I made a mistake. I think it should have been Bryan Danielson, who's had probably some of the best matches all year round last year. The guy's been on a roll, and I want to see him tear it up with Samoa Joe. I want to see Samoa Joe get reinvigorated.
I think Danielson will be AEW World Champion by the end of 2022. That is my big projection for wrestling this year. I think Danielson will end up being champion, because that match against Hangman Page was absolute, the blood and just the storytelling. It was Hangman Page's best match he's ever had, and it's no coincidence that it came up against Bryan Danielson. It was so good, great storytelling. Just give the guy the title again, because he is just what do we say every time with Bryan Danielson? Every time he turns heel, he becomes champion. He goes right to the top of the card in a champion spot all the time.
Hicks Villain says Regal is a no-brainer hire. Chauncey, what's up? Chauncey says AEW should snatch up Samoa Joe. I want to see him in Punk. Comic Book Bob says during the Wednesday Night Wars, often AEW was better show, but NXT had the better wrestling. And Bob says Joe is going to thrive wherever he goes. I would like to see him in NWA. Honestly, that's a guy you can build around, and he'd be instantly elevated to the title scene. So we're gonna get into Impact Wrestling. But one last thing, did you watch Day One pay-per-view?
No, I didn't. There was just too much around the holidays and too much wrestling to keep hold of. That Day One was a read the results type thing for me.
Yeah, so that's like during the time I was under the weather, but it was a perfect opportunity just to like curl up on the sofa, watch my new big screen TV that I finally got mounted, and watch that. And real life better than storylines. Roman gets COVID, so Brock goes over and competes for the Raw World Championship. People feel bad for Big E. He had one of the worst title reigns ever, Phil.
Yes, I just have. Hold on, let me pull it up right here. But I was reading, and we've watched it. Like this, remember on Wednesdays.
Reviewed Raw. Big E loses every week.
every week here we go. So I had this up for today's show because when you said we're going to talk about it, I wanted to save it. So Big E, since winning the title on September 13th, the next week on the 20th, he lost to Roman in a triple threat, right? Then the next month, he lost to the Usos by countout. Then the next month he lost him and the New Day lost to Rollins and the Usos, right? Then later that week he lost to Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, right? The next Monday following that match, he loses to Kevin Owens by DQ, right? Then 2 weeks later he loses to Lashley, which puts Lashley in the championship match. And then the following week 2 weeks later he loses the title to Brock at Day One. That's been his booking since champion.
Comic Book Bob says Big E was abused during his run. The booking was terrible. He wasn't booked like a champion.
He could honestly go down as the worst championship reign of all time. And this is a guy, and this is where someone like Jinder Mahal had the belt.
Yeah. Everyone was so excited when Big E won the title. And then terrible booking. Absolutely ruined it. He looked so dejected sitting outside the ring after that match, after Brock beat him. Like they had three other choices on who could take the pinfall, and they still chose to pin Big E.
That's the big part of it all. When I read that, I had to go back and read it and just watch the ending on YouTube. And I thought to myself, the biggest indicator of how WWE feels about Big E is the fact that not only did he lose his title on the Day One pay-per-view that was heavily promoted and heavily touted, he was the guy who ate the pin. To see the visual of Brock Lesnar pinning Big E, and that is one of the worst booked title reigns of all time.
Yeah,
man, it's so bad.
It seems like they're looking forward to Brock versus Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, and I mean, Brock will probably go over. I hope Lashley goes over. I think that would be huge for Bobby Lashley, but I don't think he has the mic skills to really continue that reign unless MVP. See, now if MVP pulls off the Heyman and we get a Heyman on one side and we get a MVP on the other side, now that will be super fun and entertaining. So, but we never just give our faith to WWE because, as we say on Wednesdays, we watch the show, so you don't have to.
Yeah. Eddie Winkler says, sad. Big E is a great talent in all of wrestling's most important aspects. Matt Hep says, no one listened when Mick Foley, when he warned to stick up for yourself when they book your championship run, example, Daniel Bryan and Big E. Chauncey says, Jinder Mahal is still the worst champ. At least Big E is good on the mic.
But the title reign was booked worse than Jinder Mahal.
Yeah,
at least
absolutely.
Jinder Mahal, even though he lost every single match, he only won in title defenses, and he beat Randy Orton twice. So, there's still...
Well, where's Big E's big wins?
Right.
They're non-existent.
Yep.
So we're going to get Lashley versus Brock at the Royal Rumble. And speaking of the Royal Rumble, in news that just floored me, I had to tweet you message you as soon as I saw the tweet. Mickie James, Impact Knockouts champion, promoted as, is appearing in the Royal Rumble. Phil, what the hell's going on?
This is, I think everyone's been trying to say for the WWE, forbidden door, forbidden door, forbidden door. And I don't know if this is exactly a forbidden door situation, but I do think that WWE and Impact probably now have a working relationship, which probably tells you more about why Christian is no longer Impact champion.
Yeah. So when the Impact AEW relationship ended, we all assumed it was AEW. Do you think Impact's the one who was like, yeah, this isn't working for us?
I think so. I really do. And I think they saw how the Good Brothers were booked on AEW television, booked as these guys who are nearly unstoppable. So every time they were on Impact television, they would lose. Who was to get criticized? But Impact. I think Impact took a lot of the criticism because they had to film all those episodes, all those tapings within a week, while AEW got to go live week to week and change their plans according to the flow, like any good wrestling, show should be written. When you see something is getting built up, you got to change course and you got to put the rocket onto somebody else. And unfortunately, Impact was getting criticized way too much for their liking. And so much so that Leave It to Impact to promote the Royal Rumble so heavily on Hard to Kill. But honestly, Mickie James is going to carry that title out there, and that's going to be something surreal.
So we're going to get into Hard to Kill. The thing I was wondering, was she going to even be champion by the time Hard to Kill or the Royal Rumble happened? That was answered last night, and we're going to get into it. Eddie Winkler says, if you don't count wins and losses, I'd say Kofi had a bad run too. I think Kofi Mania was amazing. Just that loss to Brock, I feel like was the only blemish, but I mean, it was Brock and it was Fox.
And I honestly think that Kofi's run was very entertaining. Because it was hard to follow up Kofi Mania, but they did a good job of booking him not as a strong champion, but I love those champions sort of like when they have a chance to lose and you're unsure if they're going to pull it out. It would just made you root for him more. But I think champion. But remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and we all see that his title reign finished at the hands of Brock Lesnar in a squash match.
Yep. Comic Book Bob says the Mickie James Impact WWE thing is one and done. Impact Hicksville says Impact has turned into Ring of Honor refugee camp. Yeah, we'll get into that. Comic Book Bob says he thinks the Sammy Guevara debacle hurt the relationship. Yeah, him showing up and not wanting to. Well, I don't blame him too. He got booked for like a waste of time X Division match and was like, this isn't does nothing for me. So I don't blame him for that.
But I also think that hurt him, and I think that karma really hit him at the backside now, because look at what we're talking about, Sammy.
Yep.
Who knows how that Impact match could have gone? Could have boosted him up. Could have made him say, "Oh, damn, look how good he is," right? But he just came off as a whiny, you know what?
Yeah.
And then then next week he's saying, "This is my best friend Fuego." It just.
Comic Book Bob says the last time WWE did a cross promotion, it ended badly. What was that, Phil? Was that NWA? ECW? I don't know.
Was it the WW?
They did something with Evolve too.
Right. Remember WC? We could just say the original WCW, the whole invasion angle.
And Chauncey says if Xavier ever gets the title, I hope it's against Brock. That would be great if he's the one who avenges Big E and Kofi and takes down Brock. I don't see it happening.
As long as he doesn't come down with that Rufio hair from Hook.
Comic Book Bob says New Japan. That's who they worked with. I don't remember that.
I remember they had Jushin Thunder Liger in NXT against Prince Pretty. Tyler Breeze. That was a
great match.
That was a great match. Maybe I don't think New Japan was the last time maybe anything was good with WWE.
Comic Book Bob says WWE did a cross promotion with New Japan back in the Hogan days, and it was terrible. Is that when Hogan faced Muta? Because Hogan showed that he could work back then. All right, let's get into Hard to Kill. I know it's January, Phil. This is pay-per-view of the year so far. This set the bar.
You know what? I will say this. As soon as Lady Frost did that backflip, first of all, I like to toot our own horns because we were we talked about it when we saw her in WrestlePro. We talked about it when we first saw her pop up on Impact. We talked about it with.
She's a star.
And man, that match was only 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And she was the freaking star of it. If she isn't the first feud after Tasha Steelz, which I think she'll get the belt, if she isn't the first contender up, I don't know what they're going to be doing, because that was her match and she absolutely rocked it.
All right, let's start. Did you watch the pre-show?
No, I was, but I did watch the one match though. So I watched half of it. I watched the Jake something match because I'm invested in Jake something.
Yeah, I was happy to
Mm.
see because originally he was supposed to be in that X Division pre-show match, but he was taken off that for the debut of Speedball Mike Bailey, who I want to talk about. But they gave him a match against Madman Fulton, and he got the
Mhm.
victory. I'm happy for him. That's a guy we keep saying he has everything
Mhm.
except I think his mic skills were a little weak when he was paired up with his cousin
Yeah.
Cody Deaner.
Mhm.
He sort of had a crutch there. So
Mhm.
once they can get some sort of character behind him, they have a lot to work with.
Right. I mean, these two openers made me. I'll tell you the reason why I didn't watch the second match. A, I was running out of time before the podcast started, and B, when I saw that Speedball, when I saw that, first of all, it's nothing against Speedball. It's the Ace Austin losing again. They totally have missed his time, and they've totally missed the mark completely on a talent like Ace Austin. And I think that's where Impact has really failed over 2021, was their complete waste of booking of a talent such as Ace Austin.
I can get behind that. I'm excited for Speedball Mike Bailey, though. He faced off against Ace Austin, Laredo Kid, and Chris Bay in an X Division showdown. And, he brings some excitement. It's nice to get some new blood into the X Division. Well, we're going to talk about the X Division. They dropped the ball again. I feel like we say this every pay-per-view, Phil, about the X Division.
So about 4 times a year, Impact does something that gets the eyes on their product, and I think they took full control of this WWE releasing the news that Impact champion Mickie James is going to be in there, so they pushed that narrative. The last month of Impact Television has been really good, building up Hard to Kill. So this is one of the 3 to 4 times a year that all eyes are on Impact, especially since everything else was going. The show was phenomenal, but the X division is the worst book division in all of professional wrestling.
We'll get to it. First, we're going to talk about this women's first ever Knockouts Ultimate X match. I was pleasantly surprised by this, Phil. We had Chelsea Green versus Tasha Steelz, Lady Frost, Jordan Grace, Alicia Edwards, who surprised me, and Rosemary. This was a surprise match. I didn't think it was going to go off as well as it did, and we saw some big bumps.
We talk about this probably think at the start of every year. We talk about how good the women's division is on Impact Television. Now, does it not necessarily end up that way by the end of the year? No. But at the beginning of the year, think about the names. Tasha Steelz, right? Chelsea Green, and Jordan Grace, right? Chelsea Green has been phenomenal the last month. Jordan Grace, I think she should be in AEW where they would treat her like the star she is, but she is miss knockout for Impact right now. And Tasha Steelz has done nothing but eclipse her tag team partner in Kiera Hogan and be just dynamite on the mic. And we said that last year. She's gotten so much better over this year. Alicia Edwards, we talked about how great she's risen over the years. And Rosemary is just like the queen of all of Impact wrestling, female, whatever. So this match had all the stars, had the makings of everything, and it was probably my favorite match on the card.
Tasha Steelz gets the win, which I was surprised about. I thought Chelsea Green was going to win it. In my opinion, she's been the MVP of Impact TV probably the last 2 months with this main event build with Cardona and Moose.
Yeah, agreed.
But Tasha gets the win, so she gets the Knockouts title shot coming up. Do you think she beats Mickie James?
I do not.
No.
I could be bold and say yes, but I don't think, again, almost like Sammy Guevara, doesn't have the gravitas yet to hold a singles championship. I think by the end of the year, she will.
Comic Book Bob says, I'm not happy with what they've done with Josh Alexander either. I like Moose, but come on, man.
That we'll be talking about that in the main event. I think we have some things to say about that.
Eddie Winkler, can we make the X Division an X Division? I think he wants to get rid of the the championship. We're going to talk about the X Division now. Trey Miguel versus Steve Macklin. Steve Macklin has been with Impact for 1 year. Absolutely the best promos they've done to introduce a character in a long time. Automatically made this guy seem like a badass. He's been portrayed as a badass. He has not been pinned until last night when Trey Miguel beat him. I would have put the belt on him and had the storyline that he's unbeatable. And then when whoever pins him and beats him for the X Division title, it would have meant something.
Macklin is gonna. I would not be surprised if Macklin goes the Drew McIntyre route. I think just build
Works
up
his way back to WWE.
Yep, Macklin is too good for this booking. To be completely honest, I think every promotion is talking about Macklin. I think I would not be surprised if he shows up in NXT 2.0 and goes to the main roster. I honestly think that's his trajectory. Because he's just, man, he's heads and tails above anyone in this X Division. And
why he's not a champion, Phil, is just makes me want to scratch my head.
Right. Me too. Especially with the way the pay-per-view ended. It made me even more frustrated, like Comic Book Bob said. Like, I love Moose, but...
Yeah, so Trey Miguel gets the victory. Did you notice he recreated the Spider-Man meme in his entrance?
Yes, I did.
So I would say that was clever. Good on Trey Miguel. And it's not that I don't like Trey Miguel. Since he's come back from his big farewell, I think he's been great.
Once he got rid of the whole radicals portion, he's been really good. And again, I can't believe we're saying this. I like Trey Miguel, but his star is not Macklin's star, and that's what's frustrating about it.
Did you hear Tom Phillips say the other two Trey Miguels were the Rascals?
Can we talk about what's his new name, Hannafin or whatever?
Yeah, Tom Hannafin. Yeah, Hannafin. Go ahead.
All right. Even though I know Riccaboni had one short thing. FKA Tom Phillips was awesome. Was awesome the entire pay-per-view. I don't know if he was a fan of Impact and TNA beforehand, or if
he did his homework,
or if he really studied. He sounded like he was there for years. You're talking about a guy who was groomed to be the next Michael Cole. It's amazing what happens when a commentator doesn't have to have a guy in his ear the entire time and doesn't have to hit these buzzwords the entire time. Yeah. What a great... And he kept up with D'Lo Brown. And that was... D'Lo Brown and him played so well off of each other that it made me okay that Riccaboni probably won't be with Impact going forward.
I have a feeling we'll see more of Ian Riccaboni, though, and we'll get into it. Nicholas Gear says he had to step away. Did we mention how WWE and Impact are working together? We mentioned Mickie James is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Where it goes from there, who knows? Comic Book Bob says it's one and done. We'll see.
Mickie James does, according to my sources, Mickie James doesn't have a exclusive contract with Impact. She's sort of floating all around NWA,
which
is weird. It's not technically a paid per appearance thing, which is different from Cardona, who's getting paid per appearance. It's a contract that has just says these are the amount of dates you have to perform for us within this amount of time frame. So it's not an exclusive deal. It's just like whenever you show up and work, as long as you fulfill it within the year. Type of deal.
Yeah.
So I think that's why she's champion and probably why the main event happened the way the main event happened.
All right. Now we'll talk about Ian Riccaboni. He was brought in to call this match. The Ring of Honor World title defended at Hard to Kill. Chris Sabin cashing in on a match he was owed 3 years ago when he was with Ring of Honor. He finally gets his world title shot. This was a great match, and Ian Riccaboni, you just praised Tom Phillips, who did a great job. But after this match, I was wondering if the people at Impact thought, did we sign the wrong play-by-play guy?
We knew that even before Phillips Hannafin said a word. Just because we know what Riccaboni can do.
I was so excited when I saw on his Twitter that he was in an airport. I was like, he's gonna. I messaged you. I was like, I think he's the new play-by-play guy because I heard Stryker had left the company, and I was so excited for that. But I'm happy that at least he got to call the one match, and I think it's going to be more going forward.
Not in a Heyman capacity back in the day, but in somewhat like that.
Yeah, but this was a great match. Jonathan Grisham retains the Ring of Honor title. It was contested under Pure Rules. They did a handshake before and after the match. Good match.
This is what Impact did very well. This podcast, this pay-per-view, is that it offered everything for any wrestling fan, whether you're a wrestling fan in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s, whatever. We had a pure wrestling match. We have an X Division match for the ladies, right? We have our hardcore death match at the end with Deonna Purrazzo and Mickie James. There was a different match for no matter what era of wrestling you enjoyed, and I think that's what made the show so good was the variety of matches they added.
Yeah, no, it was something for everyone. It was, it's said in half jest because it's only January, but pay-per-view of the year so far. Next up, we got Jonah versus Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander gets the victory. I heard Jonah, this is like one program and done for him.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. Plus, Josh Alexander, I guess, I mean,
he's getting his world title back.
Right. And I think, again, that goes to the main event. And we'll talk more. I'm going to talk more about this match when it comes to main event time, because I think this is more indicative of where the world title goes than where we would want to see it go.
Yeah. Comic Book Bob says Grisham is just so damn good. I need to see Grisham versus Alexander and Grisham versus Danielson.
Yes, that match.
There's a good chance you'll see all of them. It seems like the Ring of Honor world title is actually becoming like almost a true world title where it's touring, at least the U.S. to start. And let's see where else Jonathan Grisham takes the belt now that Ring of Honor is sort of in limbo.
And did any wrestler, besides Jonathan Grisham, if you were seeing this, if you turned into Impact for the first time, did any other wrestler impress you more than him based on pure in-ring ability alone? That man is a phenomenal storyteller and technician. It was crazy good. Early, and I know it's the beginning of the year, but this is an early match of the year candidate. That's how good it was.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we get the 10-man tag match. The Good Brothers teaming up with Violent by Design versus Eddie Edwards, Rich Swann, Willie Mack, Heath, and Rhino in the Hardcore War. Why weren't the tag titles defended at this pay-per-view?
I don't think they know. I honestly think the tag division is, and if we talk about the tag division for
that
Impact,
was their strength when we first started watching Impact Wrestling.
Now they got nobody. They got nobody. It's feeling almost, Miz and Morrison level of tag team defender, like challengers. There's absolutely nobody. There's absolutely no teams to defend it against.
At least Miz and Morrison had the personality to at least keep the titles relevant.
Right. And I think we sometimes forgot about them, forgot that they had the titles because they were so entertaining. Like, we're seeing the same thing with almost the same thing with Impact. Okay, we got really one good tag team and they have the belts, but they're not going to defend them just to basically hide away how bad our tag division really is.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of talent out there. We need, we need to see some fresh blood in the tag division.
Do you think this all but says the Briscoes are AEW bound?
I would think so.
Mhm.
I said from the get-go the Briscoes were the number one talent from Ring of Honor, that when their contracts are up, that's who everyone should want. And AEW is sort of built around tag team wrestling with the Bucks,
Right.
the Lucha Brothers. It seems like a no-brainer. You put and it already started on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Briscoes FTR are going to feud.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say with this match, the ending I did really enjoy. If you were going to spend all that time with Heath, well, this is a long form storytelling at its finest. They really did Heath good this time, and I think that he proved it. And I think this is almost like, okay, you finally get your moment. 2 years in the making because you finally fought through all those injuries.
Yeah, so Heath wins it for his team. Afterwards, we get an invasion from Ring of Honor. We get Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Vincent, and PCO hit the ring, lay out everyone. I wasn't expecting this.
No, and here's the thing. Here's a funny thing that I learned just today. PCO's contract with ROH ended in November, right? Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis's their contracts officially ended the first of the year. So, and Taven was given an early release. So all these guys don't have deals with ROH, and they put them together and said, as part of the invasion. Really good storytelling, really good job, especially if these guys are all going to work with Impact going forward, so that you can have that we invaded from ROH and we're going to stay here and continue our reign of terror. Almost a little bit like Radicals in a way.
Yeah, and we're talking fresh blood for the tag division. Now we got the Kingdom. We could get Good Brothers versus the Kingdom. That's something new, something fresh.
Yeah. There's nothing better than an invasion storyline from a different wrestling company.
When it's done well.
When done well, even when it was NXT and they came in and they attacked.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Right. A good invasion storyline is really good.
Yeah. So hopefully, I have a feeling they won't officially be from Ring of Honor because as we saw backstage, Scott D'Amore's calling Baltimore to see what's going on, and you're going to find out these guys no longer have contracts there.
Right.
But I'm hoping we get to see Ian Riccaboni back. I'm hoping we get to see Jonathan Grisham defend the Ring of Honor belt on a regular basis. It's refreshing.
Yeah, it almost feels Nick Aldis NWA kind of feeling with ROH with Gresham right now.
Yeah. So then we go to the men's world title picture, the three-way. Moose defends against Matt Cardona versus W. Morrissey. You alluded to it. This didn't go the way we would have booked it. I mean, there's no hotter wrestler on the indies than Matt Cardona. We thought, I mean, I honestly didn't think they were going to put the belt on him because I see the big picture is Josh Alexander. At least that's how Impact sees it. I think they're wrong about that because I think heel Cardona with Chelsea Green is money.
Your money.
Yeah. Did you notice we talked about karma earlier? Early in Matt Cardona's Zack Ryder's career, he was on ECW and he wrestled Rory Fox, whose tights exploded during this a match with Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder finally main events a pay-per-view, and his trunks exploded.
I will say this. This match was so good, and then his tights exploded, and I felt my heart broke for him. Like my legit, my heart broke for him because I thought if they give him the title, he's gonna have to do so under some dubious means.
The cameramen did a
Yes,
fantastic
they did.
job filming this, but it happened when Morrissey chokeslammed him. Morrissey had a handful of the back of his trunks and basically gave him an atomic wedgie that split his trunks. Not only, and I when I heard this happened, I was like, well, he had to have learned from that Rory Fox match to always wear something underneath. He did. He was wearing a thong, and that broke too. And we saw it come down his leg, which was just ridiculous.
If I suggest anyone, if you want to go out and just Google "Hard to Kill" 2022 main event, you will see these pictures of Cardona just like fighting back and throwing punches, and his legs have the thong falling down behind him. I feel so bad for him, but it is too funny not to look
I
up.
kept thinking there was enough time in the match. Just send him backstage and throw on some. He had to have another. They're doing TV tapings. He had to have another set of gear.
Right. Even if you have someone.
But that's when I also knew he wasn't winning.
It's same thing, and that's when I thought, oh, Alexander beating Jonah now makes all the sense in the world. But the one thing I didn't expect was Cardona eating the pin. I thought Morrissey was placed in there to be that guy to take the pinfall. So I think this probably shows that they're closer to getting a deal done with Morrissey and than they have with Cardona.
I think Cardona likes being a free agent and going wherever he wants. Shout out to Chelsea Green. She took another first leading up to this match. That shared shot she took from Matt was incredible. And then at the pay-per-view, Moose power bombed Cardona into her. She's like I said, she's been the MVP the last couple months.
They need to be champions. Will it happen on Impact? Probably not.
Maybe when they turn heel and beat Josh Alexander.
Maybe. And that's the only hope that I have for this whole thing is that we're going to see the GCW Cardona later this year in Impact because Impact isn't ready to have him there yet.
We need a Cardona faction with him and Chelsea and then Myers and VSK.
Yep, you do. Honestly, you do. Because unfortunately, that's the one person who was missing from the show. That
he was missing with COVID.
Right.
He was there, but he had missed the last month of TV with COVID, so he had no storyline.
Right.
OC Steve says, thoughts on the ROH invasion. We just talked about it. We thought it was fantastic. We didn't expect it, to see Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Vincent, and PCO.
PCO popped me. When PCO was out there, I'm not going to lie. I was just like, whoa. So I'm a fan of PCO. So I think this is going to be great. I honestly think Marty Scurll's going to be seen in a major promotion this year.
I hope so. That would be amazing.
Agreed.
OCC says, at least we know the Kingdom, Vinny, PCO are staying with ROH. Flip with AEW or ROH. I think I hope Flip goes to AEW, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, AEW right now is so packed with talent, but Flip has been the one guy on Being the Elite that made himself like a star on BTE. And he was the one guy who came in and felt so natural. I would not be surprised if he came in and maybe he teamed up with the Bucks or something to take on whatever this new faction of the old UE is going to be. So
no, I could see that happening. All right, main event time. A women's death match.
Texas death match.
Mickie James defends the Knockouts title against Deonna Purrazzo. So going into this, I was wondering, is Mickie James going to be the champion going into the Royal Rumble? I didn't think she was. I thought this whole feud was to eventually get Deonna Purrazzo over. Hasn't worked out that way for Deonna.
So this is why this pay-per-view probably won't end up being pay-per-view of the year. And it's simply because the matches were so good. The match types were so good. The wrestling was so good. The build-up was so good. The invasion storyline was so good. The surprises were so good. Except the booking of the matches. Except the finishes. Except the winners. If you had Cardona win, if you had Lady Frost or Chelsea Green win, right? Just a few tweaks here and there.
Eve Macklin.
Right. Macklin is the biggest travesty of it all. Like, but the matches were so good. But that's why this ultimately won't be pay-per-view of the year, just because the person who won over probably were the wrong calls for about 50% of the card.
Yeah. So Mickie James gets the victory. They went off the air, but afterwards she demanded a handshake from Deonna Purrazzo and got it. I don't know if you caught that online.
Where does Purrazzo go from here? This is another thing. Again, this is Impact's booking. Like, apparently Mickie James was supposed to come out of this with the belt even before the Royal Rumble news. Do I believe that?
Which is weird because Deonna Purrazzo showed up at the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view and challenged Roxy for her belt.
Right.
So I assumed Deonna Purrazzo was going to be the belt collector.
Right. But who knows?
Yeah. So overall, what would you grade this pay-per-view?
I would grade it an A-.
I agree with that.
I think that it could have been an A+ if the endings were changed, but it was a really easy watch, great matches, great match types, easily an A-.
Comic Book Bob says Purrazzo to AEW.
I mean,
she would be an asset to the division.
the AEW's women division, since Britt Baker took over as champion, having Jade Cargill be your TBS champion, great move by AEW. I'm glad, because now we're going to get Ruby Soho eventually. We're going to get Ruby Soho, Thunder Rosa eventually get these titles. Great booking of a tournament. AEW is proving to be the best booker of tournaments in a long time.
Hicks Villain says Purrazzo will be at the House of Glory show this Friday in a tournament for their first women's champ. Another belt for her. All right, so that'll do it, man. It was great to be back, Phil, after like 2 weeks to finally talk some wrestling. Before we go, let's share the Graveyard Shift page one more time. See where we're at. Let's see. Why isn't it working? I'm getting the
You're getting the I don't want to share page.
Yep. That's all right.
I'll go see if I can pull up on my end for you.
It says Google Chrome is not responding. That's fine though. I don't even know if I can stop this live stream, Phil. The way my computer just froze up.
Let's see. We may have to end it on weird circumstances. I guess it's only fitting considering we just talked about how awkward endings happened.
Yeah, no, I honestly I can't end the stream right now because I'm like the little spinny.
All right, let's see. All right, so you'll probably have to just hold the power button off, and then I'll probably just leave, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, Phil, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Animated Phil. You can find my Etsy shop link in the description below.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Every week, whenever we do this show, I post the link, and I just keep seeing your orders going up and up. So that's awesome. Shout out to the chat and everyone who's supporting your Etsy store.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Coney Waves. Make sure you subscribe to Primetime Poulton. King of Dat Thing starts this Tuesday on Breaking Rad. I'm going to be over there doing play-by-play. Phil, you're invited to join us if you would like. But then Wednesday on Primetime Poulton, La Pod Gods. It's going to be Sean Arendt versus Joe Sontag in the second match qualifier. And then the week after that, the match no one thought would ever happen. The Moral Compass versus Cowboy Phil. It's going to be maybe match of the year.
I think this may be match of the year. We'll see on the Lapatis.
Yep. All right, guys. So I'm just going to turn my computer off and see what happens. Anyway, thanks so much for the support on Graveyard Shift. And Phil and I will be back on Wednesday. See you guys later.